as much audio feedback here. I'll lower my own volume, but okay, so going forward, this is how the Twitch channel is going to work. It's going to be a mixture of whether I game or whether I work on computers. So, I've gotten into more of my games recently as I've started to actually take time for myself. So you'll see a lot of that, but all in all, tonight what I've got here is a PC that where a CPU was installed incorrectly in the machine, and the motherboard has failed. Power connections weren't seated properly, potentially shorting out the board. Verified it's not the power supply, verified it's not the CPU by trying other CPUs. And it seems to be, I haven't actually verified the CPU, sorry, that's a lie. Have not tested a different CPU in it. But from this point forward, I'm going to go ahead and do a replacement of the motherboard because it's more than likely what the issue is after running through all my diagnosis. And here I am. So, okay. Anyway, to get stuff started here, I'm going to point some things out. So on this board, you might not be able to see it super well, and I am sorry for that. I've got my top-down cam view in here. I'm trying to stay out of the picture as much as possible because it's not about me. My customer actually requested that this be recorded so that they could see it. So there we go. We've got 3 standoff screws missing as well. So we've got a fair bit of flex in the motherboard, and that's just not good. This was just a built, PC, I believe a father and son built at home. So, but we need to get those standoffs in there so that the motherboard is nice and secure. So I'm going to start by removing the thumb screws on the back for the GPU retention screws, where those go. And we'll pull out the GPU, we'll pull out the bracket here. And if my sound goes dead part of the way through this, I do apologize. My Rode Go mic hasn't been charged for some time, so there is a possibility that it will die part of the way through the stream. And actually, we might have dual audio running here as well, so I think I'm going to mute the video capture device here. There we go. Maybe that'll be a little bit better audio quality. Yeah, there you go. Is that better? That's more than likely what was going on there, because the top-down cam does have audio as well, so. All right, yeah, the Rode Go is what I've got on my shirt here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this GPU out. Just depress the tab on the motherboard. Go ahead and pull gently. So I'll set the GPU aside. Okay, so a couple things we have to get out of here. Well, basically from this point, it's pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead and pull all the cables off the board. And if you're a first-time PC builder and you don't know what you're doing when it comes to this stuff, that's fine. My recommendation at that point would just be take a picture before you do anything. And that also felt like it was really forced on there. So, but you never know. It's one of those USB front panel connectors. So, all right. So I'm not going to worry too much about pulling everything off the board before I get it out of the case here. I'm going to go ahead and pull that stick of RAM just so it's out of the way, and put it with the other one I've already removed. And then from here, go ahead and remove these screws from the standoffs. We're missing quite a bit of standoff screws. Looks like, okay. Sorry, you're gonna see the top of my head pop in here every once in a while. And my intro for the most part will probably stay the same, just so you know. Since you were a former TikToker, I have some more graphics that I'm getting worked on at the moment. I'm not a graphic designer, so I've got a guy doing that for me. Doing a great job so far. That graphic that you see down in the lower left-hand corner, that was all him, so. You can see a cartoon version of me. Should be good enough. Let's see. Feel for that last screw there. Not even close. I'm going to flip it so that I can actually see it now. All right. Here we go. And you can see that we're actually replacing with the same motherboard too. So, swapping motherboard, by the way. I'm Christian. Yep. Oh yeah, I remember ya. I remember ya. I don't forget people too easily. I remember ya. I don't know how long it's been since I've been on TikTok. I think it's been, gosh, not sure when I jumped ship on that platform. I don't remember now. Not that it matters too much. It's okay. So a couple of things here that I'm seeing as well. And you can't really see it from your top-down perspective, but from this perspective here, there is an SSD that's been screwed in using a SSD standoff, which is just incorrect. And it's putting extra force on the board. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that SSD. This just isn't screwed in all the way either. And I need to go back to my small head for this. There it is. SSD is the only part that I really have to use the small tip for. So those two screws were backwards, I believe. Something's definitely missing / off here. Yeah, there's just no SSD on this part at all. So a little strange, but I think the primary SSD was actually down in the slot below the secondary PCIe slot. So I don't know if the CPU was ruined. There was a pin bent, but it's honestly anyone's guess at this point. I have a 5600X on hand. This is a 3600 that they ran in the machine. So I am going to try to install it in the new machine, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, then we're going to have a different conversation too. But I know at least that the board was damaged, so at a minimum. Okay, should be able to go ahead and pull the board now. Alrighty, so board is out. So the thing with the CPU was that it just wasn't seated all the way, and that was kind of the main problem. It was half-seated, which I can't say I've ever come across before, a half-seated CPU in the motherboard. But I'm going to go ahead and remove the CPU and just kind of set it delicately off to the side here, and then we'll get the new board prepped and ready to go back in. So you can kind of hear that defining click there. You really shouldn't have that noise, so... So CPU, there were a couple, like I said, a couple of bent pins, but otherwise it's okay. Set that off to the side here. Also, the other thing to note is that the cooler is right here, and I pulled that before stream, but the cooler actually was fused to the CPU, so also not super great, but when I went to go pull the cooler, it actually pulled the CPU out of the socket as well. So that's what told me that CPU wasn't seated properly. So, and that pin just goes back down too easily. It's just a little floppy at this point. So there's no spring give to it or anything like that. I believe we're running the same exact board in the new machine, or in the new, I believe they're identical. So we've got the B550A Pro, and if I open this up, this is the new board. I'll go ahead and set the old board off to the side. I'm gonna have to get back into that box. That box that he brought me was a box for the that they put all their screws and stuff in. And so I'm hoping that I come across some standoffs in there. Would be excellent, but you never know. And by standoffs, I mean standoffs for the actual motherboard on the case. So here we go. And pull this out. And then typically, just put the anti-static bag back in the box, close it up, and use the surface of the box to assemble the motherboard. Okay. Alrighty, so this floppy as well, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the SSD first and install it in that primary slot so we don't have to worry about that secondary slot or anything. A little bizarre. Okay, so I've also never heard of this brand before, but that doesn't mean it's not good. Clev is what it's a Clev SSD, K-L-E-V-V. If any of you have ever heard of that, just let me know where you would get such a product. I've never heard of that before. I'll just ask my customer where he got it, I suppose. Okay. That is in. So I got to get back in the board box here because I actually have to get the M.2 screw out of the board box. Oops. Knew there was something I was forgetting. I'll just shove that back down in there. Like so. I don't really plan on using most of the new stuff in the box here, apart from, you know, screws that need to be used that weren't used previously. Okay, pull that. Open this up. There's our little screws. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that they didn't realize it was under the heatsink, but that's okay, you know. I imagine first-time computer builders. Nothing wrong with that. I get a lot of that around Christmas time because a lot of folks like to buy computers at Christmas time and when peel that SSD cooling strip thing back there. But yeah, I get a lot of kids that get buy PC parts for Christmas, or that get PC parts for Christmas, and then they wind up trying to build it, and you know, if it doesn't work out, then I usually get those in just to do a fix up. And honestly, this computer there wasn't anything out of place aside from the power connections just not being seated, a few missing screws, and the CPU was installed a little off. So, all right. So that's good. I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to the larger head for the CPU cooler install. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull these screws out for the retention brackets because what we're using is not, it's not the same retention mechanism. This is kind of like 3rd gen Wraith cooler retention mechanism here, where you would have the clips on either side. And then some lower end Corsair models actually use the clips on either side to tighten up to the CPU as well. Okay, that's that. Scooch this a little bit closer. Go ahead and pull these off. Carefully turn this around. Slide that CPU in there. That's kind of how it should go in. Should seat nice and easy like that. No issues. Just make sure that it's all flush all the way around, and it appears to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and lower the clip here. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is. Especially if you're a first-time builder. So, absolutely. Okay, and so this is why the microfiber cloth and the spray bottle are here. It's actually filled with a 90% isopropyl alcohol solution. And I just like to take my little microfiber cloth, and this might be somewhat controversial, do a quick wipe off of the CPU for the thermal compound that's on there. Some people will be like, oh, don't do that. Use a cotton swab or something like that. No, that's fine. You just stay on top of the IHS and you're just fine. There's no problems. All right, that's all cleared up. So then I'll do the same method for the cooler, because the cooler still has some residual thermal paste on it from before. And then I have thermal paste here as well that I plan on using. Some MX4. Fuse the CPU, usually overheating or too little thermal paste. That's correct. Yeah. Yep. Too little thermal paste, and then it dries up too quickly. That's the reason for the CPU fusing to the cooler. So it looked like very, very little was used on this, if I'm being honest. And the cooler is, I guess it is an AMD Wraith cooler. But I've been seeing some aftermarket coolers that are just like the AMD Wraith coolers, or the Stealth, whatever they're called, Stealth coolers. I already got the thermal compound out. I set it in a place where I can't see it, of course. All right, so, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put a dab right there on the middle. About a pea and a half. Some people say that a pea is enough. I like to do a pea and a half because that spreads out pretty nicely. And then I'll go ahead and set the cooler in place here. And I like to run my fan cable kind of down in between these heat spreaders as well. And then MSI has this nice, like, I don't know what you want to call it, the little like cooling fins on their heat spreaders on their board. And typically I can slide the fan cable in there so you don't see it as much, but I'm not going to bother with that. But this looks like it's a different board than the one that I usually build with, so slightly different, not too bad though. Okay, so it's plugged into the CPU header on the board. Now we just have to screw it in place, and I'm going to do the opposites pattern like you'd normally see. I have a good dab. What does that mean? This side doesn't want to take. Okay, there we go. Now we're taking. Okay, so sometimes this cooler can be a little tough to get into the back bracket here. There we go. That's in. Oh, I love a good dab. Okay. I love the ASMR clicking of a good screwdriver. Yeah. Yeah, I love this screwdriver. It's probably the nicest one I'll ever own. Okay. Tighten until it doesn't click anymore. We know it's nice and tight to the board. We are good. Okay, so that part's done. I'm gonna go ahead and get the RAM installed here. Just flip that back this way, I don't know why I did that. And slots 2 and 4. Still genuinely, fingers crossed, I don't have to uninstall this CPU and do a different CPU in the PC. Okay. And for RAM, they're using a Corsair LED module. On 2 Corsair LED modules, I should say. So I'm on 2 8 gig sticks, so a 16 gig kit in total. Why slots 2 and 4 are best? Yes, the case is very wide. It's a deep cool case. Slots 2 and 4 are best because of dual channel memory and how it functions. And if you ever decide that you want to overclock your PC, you better make sure that you have them in the correct slots. Otherwise, that's just not going to be possible. Probably not a good enough answer, honestly, but it's the one I have for now. But slots 2 and 4 optimize for performance and actually allow the dual channels to work together on the machine. So, okie dokie. Now I need to get into the old box here so I can pull their standoffs. And if I can't find any standoffs in the old box, we're going to have to go with the standoffs that I have available. So, oh yay, there are standoffs in here. Good. Goody, goody, goody. I don't know why there's a Cat 5 cable in there, but there is. That was literally all I needed the old box for. Was for standoffs. Standoffs. The thing that's probably most irritating about case manufacturers is that they can all use different standoff. All use different size standoffs, so it makes it a little complicated. Like Corsair will have a different type of standoff than Deep Cool or whatever. So I'm just test fitting this board right now. It's the same exact motherboard, but I need to know where my standoffs go. I'll do a preliminary test fit right there. Pretty close. So here's the thing, I'm not really seeing. Okay, we're gonna do that inside side right there. Got it. How are standoffs not standard? I don't know. In fact, it's a point of frustration for me that they're not standard. They're all just a little different. And it causes issues when you go to actually do work on machines. Sorry, I gotta step away for just a second. I have my other screwdriver kit somewhere around here. And that's got my standoff socket in it. When cleaning, I didn't factor that in. There it is. Okay. What's the GPU? I think it's a 1660. Oh, it is a 1060. $1060. Okie dokie. I think that's my standoff thingamajig. Yep, sure is. Okay. Go ahead and screw the standoff in. The board sits properly. Okay. Is this one just not screwed in all the way, or does it just look funny? It just looks funny. Okay. So not super great magnetism. No, it is an old screwdriver. So we are missing, in this case, 3 standoffs. So the side of the board that has the 24-pin power connector was having some problems. The problems were basically that it was, I think maybe they noticed the flex when they were building, and so that power connector did not get tightened all the way. Have you seen, okay, what's the GPU? So old. Have you seen the new motherboards that have recently been released, or at least shown to the public? All the ports in the back, so the front looks like it's very clean with no wires. Did you watch CES? Because, yeah, I've seen that, and actually, it's kind of been a thing for a while. It's just I don't think it's going to take. I really don't. I think it's going to end up being a situation where it's going to be standard to a couple of manufacturers, but for the most part, motherboards are going to remain the same. Because then that means case manufacturing has to change yet again. And I just don't see, the big case manufacturers like Corsair and NZXT changing their entire layout so that NZXT is one of them. From what I understand, NZXT is one of those pioneers of that design, but I can't say that I'm a fan of it. Also, why is this coming through this hole? I don't like that either. So I'm going to open this up on the back side just so I can manage the cables a little cleaner, because some of them are run in a way that I probably wouldn't run them, but I'm going to tidy it up for them. I do like that they didn't use a physical hard drive, so I can actually do what I want with the hard drive. Okay, and then I think HD audio is run through there, so we're good. Those are run through there, which I find a little bizarre. Those should be coming up from underneath. Probably in the same hole as this. Yeah. Have I ever considered speedrunning a build? I will probably consider that when it's not a machine that I'm trying to get done in a certain way for someone. When it doesn't impact a customer's quality. If I just built a machine for use here at home, or for some silly, purpose, absolutely. I probably speedrun. But when I'm trying to make sure that my customers stay happy, not a chance. Not a chance. Besides, I think the fastest I've ever built a customer computer anyway was 45 minutes. So, but that was with a standard air cooler and stuff like that. So it wasn't anything super drastic and fancy. And so far I'm 35 minutes into this, and I'm guessing it's going to take me maybe 15 more to finish this up. That rear I/O shield is not in all the way either. Keeps wanting to pop out. Okie dokie. Now we'll lay this down now that things are where I kind of want them to be. And scooch things out of the way here. All right, good motherboard right here. And let's see, what am I running into up top? There we go. There we go. And you're gonna probably get a little dizzy from the stuff moving around, but I have to be able to see what I'm doing here, so. Okay. Okay, board's in place. I'm not seeing any cables that got stuck behind the board, so I think we're good on that front. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the board screws back in. Now the only thing that'll make this take longer is Ryan. Yeah, build it. We'll see how long it lasts. I give it 6 months at best. They very well could be working with Corsair. I guess you never know. It's neat in theory, but it's really not hard to cable manage in such a way that you don't see your cables. Okay. And go here. I know there's another standoff screw right here. Okay. Slide it around. Yeah, and in fact, you know what? I'm gonna comment on the ASRock thing too, because I'm actually starting to see you have to pay a little more for them, but ASRock's higher end boards are becoming a little bit more reliable than they were before. You know, but that's if you want to pay $350 for a motherboard. So if you're considering a budget build, don't consider an ASRock ever. Honestly, very impressed by the battery on this thing, on this mic. I haven't charged it for several months, and it's been blinking at me that the battery is nearly dead, but it hasn't died yet. So. ASRock Meme Company. Yeah. All right, and you know what's kind of funny is that they were using board screws to hold the GPU in place instead of the GPU screws, or instead of the PCIe screws, which are generally like hex shaped, hexagon shaped. Okay, that's in. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the HD audio connector first, and then this is a USB connection I'll just plug into that USB slot right there. And then the worst ones are these super tiny ones that my sausage fingers have to get around. But the other connections that are the most important on this are your CPU power and your 24-pin power for the board. So I'm not sure why it was routed this way either. I'm changing it. I'm changing it. This view is neat. You like the top-down view? It's pretty great. I have the camera zoomed in, but this is my 4K. This is my 4K webcam from Depths Tech on Amazon. Yeah, that just doesn't make me happy. Doesn't give me the feel goods having that routed through here. The PCIe connector can probably stay there, but not the 24-pin. You have green bean fingers? What? I say the most confusing statement I've read all day. Okay, so I'm not going to plug that in yet because I want to actually get that on video for my customers to see how that goes in. But anyway, go ahead and push these power connectors back in, and then just kind of, there's not a whole lot of cables back here, so it's not like there's a ton to deal with, because this is a fairly simple build. There we go. Something's not happy. As the fan cable was getting caught in the lip of the cover there, back cover. Okie dokie, so we've got thumb screws going back in. Go ahead and lay it down again. Okay. So now, take your 24-pin connector. And let's see, do I get a good view of this as I'm doing it? Slide it in, and don't be afraid to push hard, okay? Because this is kind of how it was originally. Use some force and push hard until you hear a good click. And then just push your excess cable back down into the case, like this, so it stays nice and managed for you. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You're going to do the same thing, repeat the same process with the CPU power connection up at the top. You're going to go ahead and take your CPU power. You're going to go ahead and just push that in nice and hard till you hear a click, like that. Don't know if you guys actually heard that click. Did you hear the click? Yes or no? Good, good. That means my mic is doing the work that it's supposed to. Which also means you're probably hearing every little breath I take. Sorry about that. Okay. So these are the front panel connectors here that have to get plugged in for your power. Let's see what this has, because this only has 3. So we've got power switch, reset switch, and a hard drive light. And it's the same pattern on every board. You can look at the silkscreen illustration if you want to, but you certainly don't have to. I believe the hard drive light is... let me look at the silkscreen pattern. I know where power goes. I just don't remember if... yeah, okay, hard drive light's on the bottom. Because power light, there's a power light too, but this doesn't actually have that. No power LED plus and minus on this board. No, it's on there all the way. That's just a really long cable. Okay, so power switch is plugged in. I think for the first time in a long time, I actually, well, ever actually, in my experience with building PCs, the front I/O went bad on a machine that I worked on recently. I had to replace the front I/O. And by I/O, I mean like the power switch went bad, and so yeah, I had to rip out the front I/O and replace it, order it straight from Corsair, because they're the only ones that actually carried it for that case. And then we've got a USB 3.0 connection here. I don't like where that is either, so I'm going to reroute that as well. This is, so the way, I'm just a little picky about cable management, and it might not seem like it because right now it seems like cables are everywhere in here, but these are going to get pulled down when I open the back of the case. This USB connection is actually going to come up from the bottom because there's a hole right here where it can come up, because that port is literally right here for the front panel USB 3.0 connection. So it's silly to have it run from across the way. I just want to keep it neat, keep it nice, you know. It's simple, but big breaths. Deep breaths. Okay. USB 3.0. Come out here. Go up here. Like that. Go. And then there was another one I wanted to manage in here too. I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, I was going to pull these back through. Do, 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 do. Just pull those back through, and I'll tuck them down here. Make sure I like how that looks. I don't, because it's a little wonky. Scooch some of this around. Push it down, make it look really good. Okay. And then I'm just going to go ahead and plug that USB 3.0 connection in. You won't be able to see it, but you'll see where it routes to, and you'll see that the cable mess is much less on the front side. That wasn't a good thing. Was not a good thing. Sorry, I bent a pin here on the audio connection, but it will bend right back. Those are usually fairly forgiving. I was going to pull that cable a little. It's not bent by much, it's just bent a tiny bit. There we go, now it's back in place. Reseat that HD audio connection. We are good. Okay, so that should look a lot cleaner to you. And it is. Overall, it's much cleaner. The only cable that's really out floating about is the PCIe cable here. Is it true that touching a running CPU cooler causes severe damage? No. It is not true. No, it's not advisable to do it 24/7, but it's not going to hurt anything if you touch it. Okay. Back panel can go back on. Reach for that. Myth busted. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of people who say that, who really worry about stuff like that. And I think it's a little silly, but, you know, to each their own. If you're going to build a computer a specific way, then you build it your way, but... And then we're going to reseat the GPU in here. I think that's honestly probably about half the problem, and why people are afraid to build things is because they have this misconception of how things have to be done. It's just not the case. So it's a little sad, actually. And then I'm going to use my own screws because I didn't see any in there. So the hot air is blowing on your cat, is that right? Or is the cat hair being sucked into your machine? Okay. That GPU is seated in there really solidly, not going anywhere. Okay, we'll go ahead and plug in that PCIe connector, which is just floating about right there. And again, you know, make sure that when you're connecting the power, you get a good click on it, like this. A little click on it. That wasn't as big. And then I just kind of tuck the cable down here. Don't do that if you have a 4090, it might blow up. And then go ahead and take this. Oops. Plug it back in. And then these two thumb screws hold it in place. Right here. And right here. Okay, so now your GPU's reinstalled. This computer's officially rebuilt. There's a fan that's not connected. I'll just plug that in real quick. Looks like it's the system fan header for a splitter that's on the back. There's actually no splitter. They're daisy chain fans. So there you have it. It's built. It's clean. It looks actually really good. So pretty happy with this one. Now I just have to make sure it boots, but I'm going to stop streaming and do that. So anyway, have a good night. And yeah, this is fun. Bye.